Hey,
Is it Sonia?
Sonia, yeah.
Sonia, fantastic. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm having fun. I'm glad to actually be talking to people I can see for a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, so good. So is it making sense what I've been rapping about and what you've been seeing?
very much so. I feel like I've been at a place where I'm like, all right, I know all the like technical things, but it's that like fear thing. Like I've been like trying to find a coach or somebody who like gets that aspect of it because I can tell that there's like a difference between being able to just like do it well versus, like the next level of.
Yeah. Well, it's like looking in the absolutely. And I think what I sent you talking about too is that the technical stuff, so much of that is really the cherry on top. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which sounds crazy, but it's like if if we have the technical stuff, but we don't have a way to work through the fear, and we don't have to way to play it, we don't have a way to play it honestly, then even the best technical stuff is inhuman.
Yeah.
I mean, like it become like I always say, what I used to do with auditioning is like it's like I'm coming into the audition room with this delicate glass sculpture, and I am the delicate glass sculpture, right? And if I can just like come into the room and make all these pre-planned moves with my delicate ice sculpture, and maybe nobody looks at me funny, or I don't feel the wrong way or get self-conscious, maybe I'll get through without the sculpture breaking. But of course, what happens is it breaks right away.
Yeah.
So what we're looking to do here is like it's unbreakable, because if there's no character to break, there's nothing to break,
Hmm.
right? if
Yeah.
we if we're just going like I've got blocking choices, I've got the technical shit, but the most important thing I'm going to do is just really play something honestly. And if we stay on that action, even if we forget a line, even if we go up on our script, even if we make it up, if we're really doing something to someone, everything seems to be the illusion of the character
Hmm.
because there's no character to break.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I think I've been struggling and like, all the little like self-tape tricks of being like, oh, I'm opening a drawer, like that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
trying to like balance that and like being still and just like not moving your head all while you're talking with
Yeah.
like being free. And that has been like that's like the next, because at a certain point it's like if you're just constant, there's a certain level of like I feel like it's just not believable if you're like, oh, like there's little technical things that you gotta like fix or whatever.
Totally, totally. But the technical things, like you said, like yes, but as we begin to see the technical things, it's just guys, we've been lied to. Like the technical things don't matter. Even and I know, and here's the one way to say it too is the technical things are changing so rapidly, right? Because it's like, oh, now echo cast and after actors access, now this, now that, now that, blah, 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 blah. So
Yeah.
you can't win, right? You
Yeah.
like there's new lights and new this and new that. But if you guys Google like the auditions that made the person the star,
Yeah.
I mean, if you audition like Aaron Paul when he got Breaking Bad, do you know what I mean? Like Josh Holloway when he got Lost. There's all these so much of the time when you watch the audition that gave the actor the role that made them famous, you watch it and you're like, well, they're breaking every rule that I'm told you have to do with self tapes and with auditioning. They
Yeah.
they call for line. They pick up the script. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like the lighting looks shitty.
Mhm.
And actually going up on the line, having shitty lighting, being all over the place, actually, strangely enough, helps the whole thing work if we're honest.
Mm.
Because you're like, it's like the magic trick with the pen instead of bringing in the smoke machines. That makes sense,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Great. So, and again, I'm saying, as the volunteers come, I'm saying this to you and I'm saying this to hundreds of other people at the same time, right? For all our benefit. So what can we say in this scene that we have here? What would you say is literally happening in this scene?
Jamie is trying to get this job at the law firm, and she's interviewing with Eleanor.
Great, great, absolutely. Okay, so you just want to give it a, can we just read it real quick? Just give it a whirl?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. Uh, Obviously your academic credentials are superb.
Thank you.
I have to say I'm curious with the offers you're getting, why here?
Those offers are all civil. The only thing I've ever wanted to do is criminal, and this firm for criminal, I've been court buffing you guys for 2 years.
Really?
I was at the Lindsay Dole trial every day. I almost skipped a final.
Well, any tips we could have used? Some pointers on that one?
Are you serious?
Well, sure.
I'm sure I probably couldn't say anything you haven't already thought of.
Well, just for fun, throw it out.
Okay. That's like a test. I thought it was a mistake to go with battered woman. It may be a viable theory, technically, but juries pretty much reject the abuse excuse. It seems desperate. I thought you cut your legs off at the top.
What else was there for us to argue?
Straight self-defense. Wink, wink, it pretty much would have amounted in jury nullification, but and this is where I think you really dropped the ball. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, go ahead.
What you did was characterize Lindsay as crazy. She snapped, she was outside of herself, she lost control. Problem is, juries don't like to free nutsos. Instead of depicting her as aberrant, I would have portrayed her as every woman. Who wouldn't pull the trigger? The guy comes to her house.
We sort of did that.
Not enough, you didn't. You basically argued we can't know what's happening, what it's like to be her. She was in a different place. I would have put the jury right in her shoes, right in that place. At least one of them would have pulled the trigger, and the worst you get is a hung jury. Hindsight is always 20/20, I know.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Fantastic. So let's play with this now, right?
Yeah.
So what if we said this, right? Just again, I know I'm throwing stuff at you guys to just jump in and play with, but can you imagine the way it's in my mind is in a grounded and effusive in a grounded and effusive manner, let someone know I'm a winner.
Yeah.
And does any as if pop to mind when I say that?
I feel like a lot of what's popping in my head is like something related to like industry, because it's like the first thing that pops into my mind of having to like sell myself. So I'm
It
trying
is
to
for many actors. It is, yeah, it is for many actors. That's
I'm like
also
trying to
happened.
think
It's
of a
like,
different.
yeah,
I guess
Steven
I could.
Spielberg is telling me that he wants to know if I got it, and I'm like, yeah. But what if we did this? And I relate. So this is why I often, as I said to our previous player, I like to use like charity organizations, because a lot of us can imagine like, oh, I started a charity organization. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing. Can you imagine like a person that, and if you and we can find something else. It all wants to be fit for you personally. But
Yeah.
could you imagine that you've started a charity organization for underprivileged kids or for whatever it is, and
Yeah.
there is a rich older woman, or let's say man actually. Let's say there's a very kind but very together and stoic older man who is in charge of giving this $500,000 grant to someone
Yeah.
to start a charity organization. And can you imagine that you were having a meeting with him and you were trying in a grounded and effusive manner to let him know that you are the real deal, you're a winner?
Okay. Yeah.
Because he said to you like, so I'm deciding it's down between you and 3 other people. Why should I give your organization this money?
Okay.
And you're telling him like, well, because of me.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And can you picture like, and it can be like a bit player in your life or a friend of the family, but can you picture that man? Can you see his face?
Yeah.
Great. So close your eyes and see the office. See where you're at. This man in the suit, you there in this office. You have this charity organization you've started that means the world to you. It's down to between you and 3 or 4 other people he's deciding between, and you guys have been having an interview that seems to be going very well, but now he says to you point blank, so it's down to between you and a couple other people. Why should I give your organization this money? And in a grounded, charming manner, let's say, in a grounded, charming manner, you want to let him know that you're the real deal, you're a winner.
Okay.
And watch yourself do that. As weird as it may be, he's not saying anything, he's just looking at you. But how is he looking at you? And what would you see in his eyes? How would you know he really believes that you're a winner, that you're the real deal? That's what you want to see. And you're saying whatever you're saying, but you're trying to get that. You're trying to see that in him. You're talking about the kids. You're talking about how much you believe in this, whatever it is, but you're really trying to, in a grounded, charming way, let him know you're a winner. And when I say open your eyes, you're just going to keep doing that improv out loud to me, not imagining anything that's not happening, just playing it to me as if I'm that guy. And at a certain point, we'll jump into the scene and we might go back and forth. But whether you're saying the improv lines or the lines of the script, forget any blocking choices, forget any ideas about the scene. For this exercise, those lines could be gibberish. You're just trying to do the same thing on the improv that you're doing with the lines. Open your eyes.
Okay. Look, I know you have a lot of people that you're meeting with. And I know that the point of it is, no matter where you put your money, you're going to be doing something good, right? I mean, this is the whole intention. You have this huge company and you have all these wonderful charities. But what we do is that we give a chance to people who have no chance. People that are basically invisible. And you can create essentially a better America by giving people who are coming here who are technically without papers or whatever a place to live. I mean, we're all immigrants here, unless you're Native American. Like, we're all immigrants here, and we all have a chance to be, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I get so passionate about this.
Well, obviously your academic credentials are superb.
Thank you.
I mean, I have to say, I'm curious what the offers you're getting, why here?
All of those offers are civil. The only thing that I've ever wanted to do is criminal, and this firm for criminal. I have been court buffing you guys for 2 years.
Really?
I was at the Lindsay Dole trial every day. I almost cut a final.
Well, any tips we could have used? Some pointers on that one?
Are you serious?
Well, sure.
I'm sure I couldn't say anything that you haven't already thought about.
Well, yeah, just for fun. Throw it out.
Okay. This feels like a test. I thought it was a mistake to go with battered woman. It may be a viable theory, technically, but juries pretty much reject the abuse excuse. It feels desperate. I felt you cut your legs off at the top.
What else was there for us to argue?
Straight self-defense. Wink, wink, it would have amounted in jury nullification, but, and this is where I think you really dropped the ball. I'm sorry, I don't mean to,
No, go ahead.
What you did was characterize Lindsay Dole as crazy. She snapped, she was outside of herself, she lost control. The problem is juries don't like to free nutsos. Instead of depicting her as aberrant, you should have characterized her as every woman. Who wouldn't pull that trigger? The guy comes to her house.
Well, we sort of did that, right?
Not enough, you didn't. You basically argued, we can't know what it's like to be her. She was in a different place. See, I would have put the jury, right in her shoes, right in that place. At least one of them would have pulled the trigger, and the worst you get is a hung jury. Hindsight is always 20/20, I know.
Excellent. Very, very nice. Sonia, very nice. Could you feel that?
Yes. Yeah.
So guys, everybody watching, like, I think that was such a great example, right? Because literally we watched Sonia as soon as she started doing the as if out loud, we just saw her, right? Literally popping off the screen. When she's doing the improv, and I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but this as if was a great example of one of the things we're looking to do with the as ifs, which is to be of service, right?
Of service.
Of service. Yes. Because that helps get us off ourself, right? And so you clearly, like, this made up charity organization that we just made up, 2 minutes ago or whatever, but
Yeah.
but her just thinking about it, it clearly has meaning to her. So her doing this imaginary conversation with this guy, trying to, make him know that she's a winner, but the subject matter of the as if also had great meaning to her. And so it was just, I think, such a great as if for this scene, and a great as if in general, because it was clearly had meaning to her. It was of service. And as we see, when we went from the we went from the improv to the lines, you guys could all see her really playing off me, right? And you could feel that, right, Sonia? Like could you feel the sense of like being on that action?
Yeah, I think about like the shape and like the obstacles that I built into it to like make the scene that you know what I mean? And it's very different than that.
Yes, because here's what we just saw. And again, to me, it was really a breathtaking example of how this can work. Because the first time you did it, I watch you and I'm like, that's a good actor. That's a good actor trying to be natural. Do you know what I mean? And trying to remember what is the pre-constructed arc of this scene that I had or that I coached with or whatever it is. But I think look, you're in front of hundreds of people jumping and of course you're going to be nervous, right? But you so quickly saw how when you had something specific and meaningful to do, the whole thing came alive.
Yeah.
And because you were really on me playing that action, we weren't watching an actor attempt to create pre-planned moments. We were watching endless moments like a jet stream happen because your focus was on me and what you were doing, which is really one and the same. I'm doing that to that person. And it was like so moving to watch. And again, for those watching, right? And often the actor who's doing it, that's why I say, could you feel it? And I don't mean like emotionally, I just mean the sense of like, it's like riding a wave, right? It's like being on a bike. It's just like, wait, I just played basketball and I was really like in the game there. That's often what it feels like because we were doing something, right? And that's what we're after, is almost this self-forgetting when we're on the action. And we finish it and we're like, I'm not sure what happened. And that's good. Because if we finish a scene and we're either like, yeah, or we're just like, fuck, that's ego. That means we were trying to get it right. And either we hit all the moments we wanted to, or we're celebrating the feeling of getting it right, or usually we missed 75% of the moments we were trying to do. And so we got it wrong.
Yeah.
And what you just did is outside the spectrum of right or wrong. We were just watching her actually really try to convince a real human being that she's a winner. Warmed up in this specific circumstance that I just talked her through and she just did, and did the improv out loud and was able to leap in with the lines and really do, I think, an excellent job of letting those lines mean anything. And at different moments in the scene, I thought you were apologizing for losing your focus. And I was about to say to you, like, no, you're doing great. Don't stay on the action. And then I realized that, that was the line. She's just, because it seemed like you were making the lines up.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, well, that's what we're after, right? That's what we're after. That, because that's what we do in real life. Like, I don't know how I'm choosing these words that I'm saying to you, but I'm not controlling it. Right? So that's what we're after in the scene, guys. And the only way to do that is to forget about the lines and focus on what we're doing. And it was just such a great example, because when she started doing the improv out loud, I mean, we could all see it. It went from, again, the first time you did it, it's just like, I'm the actor and I'm aware of wanting to be simple and be in the frame, do you know what I mean? And then I said improv, and we see you. Like, you have no concern about the frame. You're doing things with your hair. You're just doing all these natural things that then carried over into the actual scene. And the scene was literally, you were literally leaping off the screen because you're no longer trying to get the frame right, trying to get whatever right. Remnants of whatever blocking choices you may have had before were still there, but you're not conscious of them because you're just doing the one thing. You're really trying to convince me that I'm a winner. And because that you're a winner, right? And again, because that as if had such meaning to you, we just got to see so much of you, right? So the first time was sort of like an actor trying to get across the idea of charming and effusive and passionate and love. But what we saw the second time was actual charm and passion and love and this beautiful human being. And that was such a great example of the magic trick of the audition. And so for those watching, and again, I know you were just doing it, but you'll get to see with other people, watching her do it, right? We're like, and again, I'm not saying don't have good lights or don't play with lighting or don't play with backdrops. Yeah, we want to do that stuff. But you watch what she just did, and I don't give a rat's ass about the backdrop or the lights or like, and the suspension of disbelief, this is another big misperception, guys. The suspension of the disbelief, that happens in the viewer. The actor doesn't need to believe they're the character. If the actor is just doing something real, the viewer starts to see the law office. The way you were playing that scene, that second take, I'm like, my mind starts creating the law office. I start seeing things because I'm projecting on you because you're just so honestly going after it. When the actor is presenting, when the actor is going, do you get that I'm young and effusive? Do you get that I'm natural? Do you see my choice? It's like charades, right? We can go like, oh yes, I see. I get that. I get that. But what just happened with that last take, I'm just like stunned by it. And I'm like just watching a real human being do something spontaneous. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Any thoughts on that experience?
Yeah, it's like what you said, very simple, but it's like I had never really thought to, like, when I'm like personalizing things or whatever, not really thought to connect it to something I'm passionate about in that way. It's sort of like a similar thing where I'm like, yeah, like it's like I'm trying to get a new agent, or I don't know, whatever, some like industry, or like, you know, and like this idea of like the stakes of like, I had like put this other, like when he kind of like is like, oh no, go ahead, and then I'm like, oh, now I'm in trouble and now I have to like recover and like all these things. But yeah, if you just are in the thing, then it's the stakes are there. You don't have to like build in a new step to like raise the stakes, you know.
Yes, exactly. Like what you just did, and so many people would, if this was like, if you could really see the people, like when I had my classes, all the hands raised, and we would hear comments from people about, because what we just saw with what you did, it had real momentum. It had real moments, not based on what you pre-planned, but what was actually happening between me and you.
Yeah. I
and
think
like
sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
I also wanted to bring this in because it's something that I did that I felt quite and it's like often professional characters in particular. I'm like, that's like the posture and just the way is like a little bit odd. I usually do like crazy girl, but like the professional characters I always like struggle with a little bit more because it feels quite stiff. And so I wanted to like play with being able to find freedom in that.
Well, you absolutely did. And again, you know, and you know, this character says like, you know, 25, attractive, effusive. Like this in the scene made sense the second time. Like you just were, which is what this character is supposed to be, right? Is like not the typical professional, but they're like, who's this, you know, genius young lawyer who's passionate and believes and is so smart. But again, you weren't playing at it. It was just happening. And you weren't concerned with seeming professional. And you were, like you said, by just, the audition wants to be about doing one thing, not 19 things.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm doing one thing here with you guys today. I'm teaching the class. If I were to have like a big sheet behind me of like, here's the 95 pre-planned moments I want to make sure I hit, it would be a freaking disaster, right? And what happens in life, like literally just happened with us, if you go after one thing with a real person, there is a natural, undeniable rhythm and flow, like playing tennis with somebody, that just happens. And so you don't have to manufacture the story arc. We just witnessed it. And most actors, I've even, you know, because I've coached CDs with this goal setting technique that I do as well. So I've been an actor. I know a lot of CDs, right? And more than one CD has told me when they see an actor come in and it's not on this script, but when they see an actor have more things written on the script than there are lines, they're like, it's not going to go so well. Because what they're seeing the actor do is like, here's all this stuff I've planned to do. And I've coached this with an inch of my life. And I've got these 19 beats I want to hit. But that's not what happens in life. And what you just did was just chock full of real moments. And here's the thing too, guys, you know that you're really going after something and really doing something and you're really on the action when you're feeling sometimes massive doubt and crazy vulnerability, because you're flying without a net. Because when you're really doing something, there's no guarantee it's going to happen. And there's nothing to hang on to. You know, I am so filled with insecurity in different moments when I do one of these webinars, because, you know, I finally get to talk to people, but for a large extent, I'm not. But I just keep focused on what I'm doing. What the line readings and what the 19 pre-planned moments do for actors is it gives them something safe to hang on to. We know you did it. You're guilty. Just fucking tell us. Come on, we know you're guilty, right? I have these things I built in, so all I have to do is try to get them right. But if we're just letting it rip, we know you're guilty. We know you did it. Just fucking tell us, just to confess. I have no idea what's going to happen with it. But that's what makes it thrilling to watch. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we just saw in you. And that's one of the, you know, and we're going to take a break here in a minute. And we'll of course, we'll pick up after the break and I'll play with more actors. But guys, I think what we've just seen in the first two players is this way of acting is also for me so personally, both personally as an actor and personally in watching it and working with people in this way, it's so ennobling because you're seeing the real human being and you're watching a real human being, you know, in regard to what I was talking about with the fear and all this stuff. Like we're watching Sonia, real Sonia, go through her real stuff to try to really do one specific thing with me that she shaped in a way so it's very specific to her. And then she just let it rip. And so it's just ennobling to watch. And I think to do, because it's someone really doing something in spite of what they're feeling or thinking. And it's having the courage to show us the out of control us, the like, I'm just doing the thing, so I'm not sure what they're seeing because I'm focusing on doing the thing instead of like presenting things that I can hide behind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, it makes me, it's like, I feel like a lot of the presenting stuff is like, I know that the only way that they would want me is if I was this kind of actor that they cast on ABC show. You know what I mean? Like instead of like yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. Like that's what we want to do. We want to, how do we actually for real be ourselves, bring our own personality to bear? Because I feel like you do. It's like I spent years, I was a series regular at one point in a show. So I started auditioning for all these series regulars on these sitcoms. And because I was so tempted by the success of it, I gave up this way of working. I was like, nope, I'm going to do line readings. I'm just going to try to find out how to act bad, but do it good. And it was hell. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I'm just like, I am not multi-camera sitcom person, I finally realized. And if I am, I'm just going to find a natural way there. And if I can find an honest way there, fantastic. But I don't, yes, are there successful actors who are giving dishonest performances and making a living at it because the show's dishonest and because they're shooting it a certain way? Yeah, but I don't want that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be good at being bad. So I just want to imperfectly attempt to do something simple and honest every time. And when you do that, it always takes you somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Always. Thank you so much for
Thank you so
jumping in.
much. This was awesome. Thank
So
you.
lovely to work with you. Yeah, everyone can give it up in your own prospective places for Sonia. That was so much fun.